Good morning, everyone. My name is Martin Doyle, and I graduated from St Lawrence's College in 2014 as a QATSIF scholarship recipient. Having been lucky enough to obtain an OP1 at the end of my schooling, I am now studying a dual degree of a Bachelor of Science / a Bachelor of Laws, majoring in Biomedical Science at the University of Queensland, St Lucia, and I am delighted to be your MC for this occasion. I wish to begin our celebration by acknowledging the traditional owners of where we gather on this land, the Yugara people on this side of the river and the Turrbal people towards the north side. I would like to extend a QATSIF welcome to all of our special guests, especially the Honourable Curtis Pitt, Treasurer, Minister for Employment and Industrial Relations, and Minister for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Partnerships and representing the Office of the Premier, Ms Tanya Smith, MP, Member for Mount Omni and Shadow Minister for Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander and Multicultural Affairs, Mr Steve Forster, representing the Acting Public Trustee of Queensland, Mr Mark Crofton. I would also like to welcome the Chair of the QATSIF Board of Advice, Professor Cindy Shannon. I would like to especially welcome Auntie Ruth Heggie, the patron of QATSIF. A welcome to Mr Selwyn Button, the Assistant Director General of State Schools Education, Indigenous Education, Ms Josephine Wise and Ms Rosemary Kopp from Independent Schools of Queensland, and Mr Mike Byrne, Ms Mandy Anderson and Ms Yvette Rutch from Queensland Catholic Education Commission. And last, but certainly not least, QATSIF recipients, your schools, parents and staff. We now enter into a sense of reflective welcome from dancers from the Palm Beach Currumbin State High School. It appears I may have spoken a bit too fast. Not ready? We might get welcomed a little bit later. Just kind of skip forward a bit in the run sheet. We thank St Lawrence's College for hosting the celebration. This is actually my old school, as we celebrate 100 years of this fine establishment. The Principal, Mr Ian MacDonald, would like to say a few words of welcome.
Distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, and particularly students from schools from the Sunshine Coast to the Gold Coast. Welcome to this place. I acknowledge the traditional owners and pay respect to their descendants, past and present. Our school stands on sacred and holy ground. Sacred because for thousands of years Aboriginal people lived, breathed and had their being in this place. Not here, roundabout, but here. It was a site which included up to 500 people residing between the rich hunting grounds of West End, Kurilpa, those rainforests flush with life, and the chain of freshwater ponds around the Gabba, Kumbaquipa. It was a land of plenty where culture flourished, a culture which was destroyed by the invasion. It's holy ground because the lives lived here always centred on maintaining the welfare of others. In recent history, this land has been specifically about health and welfare and education, about building the futures of young people. Thank you to QATSIF in our centenary year for the honour of holding your scholarship event here in a place committed like QATSIF to the blossoming of young people. Thank you. There's a wonderful photograph in our QATSIF report taken of our staff at Bamaga visiting the people of the Cape. And in that photograph, the staff who were there from St Lawrence's and the elders of that community are walking in a straight line down a road. I think it's a wonderful symbol of what the future of this country should be. As a symbol of our small contribution to the restoration of Aboriginal and culture and life in our country, I'd like to present copies of our annual report to Professor Cindy Shannon, the Honourable Curtis Pitt, Ms Tanya Smith and Steve Foster. Thank you.
So yes, St Lawrence's has taken the initiative to produce an annual report for QATSIF for the past 4 years, and we are delighted that it could be officially presented here today. For anyone that's interested, this report will be linked to the website and the Facebook page for QATSIF. Now, assuming that they're ready, we might just have a quick change of the order. So a group of dancers who will be extending their cultural awareness are the dancers from Wavell State High School. They will be quite generous and will take us on a journey through dance today. I really should make sure they're ready before I call them out.
Good morning, everyone. Firstly, before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of this land. My name is Carnell Leone. I'm a descendant of the Bachelor people. We've been given permission by elders in our community to do these songs and dances. The songs were made when we reclaimed our language. Each of the people in this dance group are from various tribes, but today we will be speaking in my native tongue, Bachelor. We're performing 2 songs. First one will be the welcome song, and the second one will be Borad, the white-breasted eagle. Thank you.
Yaban will me brand angalim gur banda borad. Yaban will me brand angalim gur banda borad. Yaban will me brand angalim gur banda borad. Wabaya, wabaya, wabaya. Wabaya, wabaya, wabaya. Nago brad angalim naya wangam brad engkam. Nago brad angalim naya wangam brad engkam. Nagu bradangalem na yawangam bradengkam. The mama, the mama, the mama. The mama, the mama, the mama. Yaban will me be randangalem ger banda barad. Yaban will me be randangalem ger banda barad. Yaban will me be randangalem ger banda barad. Babaya, babaya, babaya. Babaya, babaya, babaya.
I think in all it was an excellent show of actually taking interest in your heritage and your culture. We are delighted that QATSIF can celebrate the recipients, at a QATSIF school for the first time. For QATSIF is all about the students, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students all aiming to graduate in Year 12 with the best results they possibly can. We appreciate the support of the Queensland Government in trying to improve these educational outcomes, and would like to welcome the Honourable Curtis Pitt to speak with us now.
I wanted to shake that young man's hand. He's done a fantastic job as MC, particularly on the fly. It's one of the hardest things to do, but I found out you had an OP of 1 and you're handling that without a problem. So congratulations on all your success, Martin. Can I firstly acknowledge that we meet on the land of Aboriginal people and pay my respects to elders past and present. We are very fortunate in this country to have 2 of the world's oldest continuing living cultures in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. That's something I'm enormously proud of. I'm also very proud that the traditional custodians of the land, winds and waters of Queensland, we all now share. And I think that that is a remarkable thing in terms of what our great state is about. Can I acknowledge Auntie Ruth Haggerty, Auntie Lynn, other elders who may be with us today from other communities. Professor Cindy Shannon, always good to see Cindy, who is a good friend, and it is so pleasing to see her involvement in QATSIF ongoing. Of course, board members, Mark Crofton from the Acting Public Trustee of Queensland. I'm not sure if Selwyn Button has joined us yet, but I'd like to acknowledge Selwyn from Education Queensland as the Assistant Director General. Josephine Wise, Rosemary Cobb, Mandy Anderson, Yvette Rutch, Mike Byrne, I believe is here as well, from Catholic Education, and very importantly, QATSIF scholarship holders, and I really want to say thank you to your family and support networks who are here. I'll talk a little bit today about what the program is about, of course, and the success of this program ongoing. But I must say that this program is only as good as the people who are within it, and it's only as good as your support networks who help you get to where you need to go. And that is the real story here. These scholarships are important and they do great things, but they don't do it on their own. They do it and provide a leg up, provide an avenue, but having support networks of family and friends and extended family is what allows you to be successful young people and to start your exciting journey going forward to the rest of your lives. I must say at the outset, the Premier, Anastasia Palaszczuk, sends her apologies. She was unable to be here today, but she did ask me to express to all of you her sincere congratulations in terms of your successful scholarships, being the recipients of those, and of course all involved in QATSIF. 3 years ago I attended a similar event, not at this venue, but hearing the significance of that from Ian McDonald has been terrific to know the story and the long history of what this place means. Since that time 3 years ago, this program has continued to grow, and over the life of QATSIF we've seen 3,700 scholarships awarded, and that's totalled around $7.3 million in terms of outpouring of money. And I'll say outpouring of money, I'm the treasurer, but I mean what this really is a $7.3 million investment in our future. It's one of the best investments I think we could be making, and so I'm particularly pleased to see how well this program's going. This year, the scholarship recipients are part of a group of 1,219 recipients from 190 schools right across Queensland, students commencing Year 11. But you're also bigger than that. You're bigger than a broader group of students who have been past recipients. And of course, we see some of those past recipients here today. It's a network, and you should use that network because it will be important to you as you go into your future careers and future lives around the state. Can I also acknowledge that we have with us today Tanya Smith, who is the Shadow Minister for Indigenous and Multicultural Affairs in Queensland. Tanya came into the Parliament last term, and I've always enjoyed having a conversation with Tanya, and it's okay, you're allowed to talk to people from the other side of politics. We get on reasonably well, and I'd like to acknowledge her being here today and her interest in this program. Graduating from high school is a big achievement, and it's a big achievement for all who actually make that journey and succeed. Of course, some people will argue how successful you are depends on what score you get. At the end of the day, the journey itself is important, the learning process is important, but making sure that you fight every step of the way and take along with you all the learnings that you get over that journey. It's as critically important as whatever paper you get at the end of that in terms of saying you've done your bit. I want to say if there's one thing that's important in terms of making sure we are closing the gap in this country, there are a range of very important areas: housing, education, health particularly, but education and its linkage to employment are the things I'm very, very focused on, because I know they are the foundation stones of ensuring that we have a terrific and bright future for people in this country, our first Australians. And you are, everyone here today who's a recipient of these scholarships is that bright future. We think that's why this is such an important investment. I just want to say, besides the support networks that you have, the schools themselves are a terrific support. They are the centre of community, no matter where you go. I'm from Far North Queensland, so the centre of community there is a little bit different to being in the CBD of Brisbane. But nonetheless, it is still very important. And I know that there haven't been many students who are able to travel who are recipients of scholarships from the far north, but I'll be catching up with some of those students later in the year to make sure that I can wish them well the same way I'm doing for you today. Look, I always have a prepared speech that they give you, and it's a good speech, but I tend to drift away from those. What I wanted to say to you are a couple of things today. I'm the proud father of 3 Aboriginal children. So it is a very personal thing for me to be the Minister for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Partnerships. The partnerships aspect of my portfolio title is important because that is very much what this is about. It's about government partnerships with community organisations, partnerships with community leaders, partnerships with education providers, partnerships with students and family members. These are all aspects of government delivering. Government doesn't just do things, it should listen to what people are saying. As I keep saying, government can't be Binagari. If that's the case, then you're never going to get where you need to go. So we have to listen, and it's very, very important. The other thing I wanted to say to you is, my message to you is work hard, but dream big, because by dreaming big, you will always have your sights set, perhaps sometimes lofty. Perhaps some people will say it's too lofty. That doesn't matter, because unless you dream big, you'll never go big. And if you continue to dream big, I think all of you, with the assistance of the QATSIF scholarships, the assistance of your schools and your networks, will see a terrific and bright future. I thank you for having me here today, and I continue to endorse what a terrific program QATSIF is and the difference it's making to students such as yourselves. Thanks very much.
So now, if they're all ready, and looks like they are, let us now enter into a sense of reflection as we welcome the dancers from Palm Beach Currumbin State High School.
Okay, welcome everybody here today. My name's Steve. I've been a teacher for a long time now. I've been taught by the people from North Stradbroke Island, so my skin fathers of the New Knuckle people. And I've been doing this for over 20 years now, running a dance troupe, an artist, and also teaching. And these are just some of the kids that I've been teaching in the last 6 months. This is their second performance ever, so I hope everyone enjoys it. But their name I've given a name for the troupe, is called Butharam Dancers. So Butharam means dreaming. So, you know, that dreaming that we talk about is part of all Aboriginal people. So we have it in our DNA, whether you've got a small amount of Aboriginal blood or a large amount, it's still part of your DNA. So this is what I tell these kids, it's all about the dreaming, and you chase your dreams. So this is what we're here to showcase what the kids have learnt today. So the first dance is a welcome dance, and it's called Gurringning Nanami. And this is from my people up in the Bunya Mountains, the Gubbi Gubbi Waka Waka people. And it was a welcome dance that was done every 3 years as a big feast of the bunya nut. So if you don't know what a bunya pine is, it's a tall pine tree, but it has lazier limbs than a normal pine tree. And at the top is a large sort of basketball shape casing with a lot of the segments of the bunya nut within. So in the old days, they would climb these trees, all the men, and they would bring this bunya nut down from every tree, and it was the best every 3 years, was the best harvest. And as they bring it down, they would roast it upon the fire and wait from tribes as far as northern New South Wales, out west and further north, would walk up to weeks just to get there for this festival. So we'll do this dance here today, which is one of many dances that was done to welcome in the people that arrived in the Bunya Mountains. So it's called Gurringning Nanami. Yo Gurringning Nanami, Yanya Bami, Yanya Banlang, Yada Yada, Yanya Namli Noro. Gurringning Nanami, Doja Mo Berono, Gurringning Nanami, Gurringning Nanami, Doja Mo Berono, Gurringning Nanami, Doja Mo Berono. Gurringning Nanami, Doja Mo Berono, Gaya Mama Rangai, Gaya Mama Rangai, Dagongonga Yongo, Gaya Mama Rangai, Dagongonga Yongo, Gaya Mama Rangai, Dagongonga Yongo, Gurringning Nanami, Gurringning Nanami, Doja Mo Berono, Gurringning Nanami, Doja Mo Berono. Thank you, and I must be getting old in my age already, and forgetting things, but I'll also like to pay respects to the elders and the people of this area, and past, present, and in the future. All right, the next dance is called Merigimpa, and Merigimpa is the sea eagle. And the sea eagle would help us with our fishing all up and down the coastline of all the tribes in southeast Queensland. So as they pass through northern New South Wales, the migrations of mullet would flow through all the way up through the Gold Coast, up into Moreton Bay and further north towards Cairns, and they're searching for the warmer waters. So the sea eagle was the first to hunt on these shoals of fish, or the schools of fish, and always called out to our people to let us know that they have arrived and to grab our fishing gear. So we do this dance because the sea eagle taught us how to hunt on the schools of fish, because he was the best. They always the hunt in the middle of the school and not at the front or the back or the outskirts where the leader fish are, because if you scare the leader fish, they dart out to the deeper water for safety and the rest of the school would follow them. So it'll make it a lot harder for us to catch them, and we may miss the catch and wait hours or days for the next school to come through. So it's the dance of the sea eagle, Merigimpa. Merigimpa yaranya double bun, Merigimpa yaranya, Merigimpa ya wanje mama andakal. Woo! Ay. Merigimpa yaranya double bun, Merigimpa yaranya, Merigimpa ya wanje mama andakal. Woo! Ay. Maragan paya lanya double bun. Maragan paya lanya. Maragan paya one day, mama and a kal. Your way. Okay, this next dance is called Wallankol, and Wallankol means the fishing dance. So we do this dance to showcase how we would round in the shoals of fish in the old days. So the men, they would grab their spears and they would walk through the shallows of the water or even in the sides of the river. And the women would stand in the middle with the nets. And whilst the men are prodding at the water, they're scaring the fish back towards the nets where the women are scooping them up and throwing them back onto the shore. And with their Doro nets, we call them in the old days. So, and then the men are also prodding some fish as they're out there. So this is just showcasing the way we used to hunt fish in the old days with our fishing spears. Wallankol, the fishing dance. Maka mala, bama bella andakal. Nadre wadro, bama bella andakal. Nabi andakal. Maka mala, bama bella andakal. Bama bella andakal. Nadre wadro, bama bella andakal. Bagamala, bama bella andakal, bama bella andakal, nadre wadro, bama bella andakal. Bagamala, bama bella andakal, bama bella andakal, nadre wadro, bama bella andakal. Your way. Thank you. We're going to finish up now with the final dance. So these are the only 4 dances that I've taught these kids through about 8 sessions so far. So they've done really well. And then next year, at the end of the year, I'm going to teach them some more dances. So that way they've got their own little dance troupe to do their own gigs. So this last dance is called Jara. So this is a very special dance for our people because Jara is Mother Earth. So we always done this dance in the old days and still today to thank Mother Earth, to pay her respects for everything that she's given us, from the resources of the land for us to live. So we do it here today for you. Jara, Dance of Mother Earth. Mama jada jada jara, mama jada jara, mama jada jada jara, mama jada jara, mama jada jada jara, mama jada jara. Mama jada jada jara, mama jada jara, mama jada jada jara, mama jada jara, mama jada jada jara, mama jada jara. Mama jada jara. Yala ni malara. Mama jada jada jara, mama jada jara, mama jada jada jara, mama jada jara, mama jada jada jara, mama jada jara. Your way. Thank you. So that's the dance performance for today. I hope you all enjoyed it. And this is my first performance with the kids, as I was overseas last time, so I didn't get to see them. So I'm very proud of them. They've done well today. And you know, these are the next dancers to pass on the culture. So thank you for having us here.
Again, thank you so much to the students from Palm Beach Currumbin State High School. You do your school and QATSIF as a whole very proud. It is wonderful that QATSIF has a patron, and we are indeed blessed to have as our patron someone as highly esteemed as Auntie Ruth Hegarty. Let us now hear a few words from Auntie Ruth.
Thank you. It's always a great pleasure to be here and just to say a few words to encourage you in your walk through life. 100 years is a great time to celebrate, and I think there are a few hundred years going on within this year. And we congratulate the school for its 100th year. And thank you that we're able to have our QATSIF celebrations here. We've been trying desperately to get somewhere. The acknowledgement, I thank those who have acknowledged and for those who have welcomed us here. But I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge elders, past and present, whose stolen wages are benefiting these scholarships. And that's something very important to me, because I was part of that, my 86th year coming up now, and we're still remembering the days of long ago. We know, of course, that these scholarships were not fully favoured by our older people, simply because they worked under very distressing circumstances for a pitiful amount of pay that was controlled by government. I was one of those protesters that not only argued for the payback, but against these scholarships. It seems strange now that I should take on the position as patron. But sadly, many of our elders have passed on without ever knowing how their wages are now making a difference in the lives of our young people. It's a pity that we just cannot reflect back to those times and say, hey, we're doing well. Our children are doing well. Unlike ourselves, education was only a means to an end when we were children. Teach them only to read and write. That was the system that was set up, enabling us to attend school just until the 4th grade. Just teach them to read and write, the government said. That's basically all they need to know. And the syllabus that was set up to take into account specific circumstances and needs of the people. Always they were thinking that maybe we don't need to know enough. And the devised plan included not only the 4 grades of teaching, but a higher standard of education that was not deemed necessary because the commercial and academic world held no openings for the settlement natives. Now this is how we who had lived through that time were deemed to be not necessarily important to this country. But these funds are enabling our young people to follow their dreams. Curtis talked about dreams. Our young people know what dreams are all about, and it will be the means of closing the gap. We know that maybe it's not so important to a lot of folk, but the gaps not only mean education, but it means housing and other issues that Curtis has spoken about. And that began those years ago. It was deemed that we were not worthy people to be taught anything, and I again say just reading and writing. The stolen wages scholarships growth over time have really exceeded our expectations. I am amazed, as is our chair of QATSIF, Professor Cindy Shannon, the Board of Advice and the QATSIF Secretariat. All over Queensland, we're seeing schools involved in making applications for our kids who really do want to further their education. There's nothing gammon about this. It is a real thing that you're entering into now. If I thought it was just a gammon thing, I would not be here. So round 6 has surprised us. It's risen to 1,206 in this year. Round 1 in 10 and 11, only 105 received their scholarships. So you could see how over time, round 1 to round 6, it has grown considerably, that we see the schools becoming involved and we see our children's eyes being open to, hey, this is our future. And it's enabling you to go further than just grade 4. It's enabling you and to make your people proud of who you are. Never be ashamed to say, yeah, it was the scholarships, the stolen wages scholarships that enabled me to get this far. And I'm sure this young man here has said the same thing, and we're very proud of him. When you complete these scholarships, you will notice that many areas of education or jobs are opened up to you. So we see round 6 rising from there. It's like rising from the ashes and enabling you. And you will find it opens up infinite possibilities. This is not about that you might succeed, but it is about what is to come. That's what we need to be looking at. It took me until I was 70 years of age. I am 86 this year. It took me all that time to find out what it was that I needed to be able to do. And just knowing that I can write books, become author of many books, that has enabled me to be here today. Because something is waiting on the other side. You are bridge builders. You are the bridge builders. That is what's coming, because something is waiting on the other side. Always, there is something there. Never say, I can't do it, because it is there for you. And I sincerely hope it's something great. You cross that bridge, young people, with my blessings this day. Thank you so much.
Now, I've been to a couple of these events over the past few years, being a scholarship recipient, and every single time to hear Arnie Ruth speak is an immense pleasure, and I hope that her words inspire you, the scholarship recipients of Round 6, as much as they inspire me. So thank you, Arnie Ruth, for the courageous and determined way in which you continue to serve our people. The chair of QATSIF Board of Advice has generously served QATSIF since it was first established. I would now like to invite Professor Cindy Shannon to speak to you all.
Thanks, Martin, and good morning, everybody. We've gone from being in a very, very jam-packed state library to this huge auditorium where we've got a lot of room, but there are an extraordinary number of you here. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners and pay my respects to the elders, particularly those here today, and our past elders as well. Arnie Ruth, thank you both for being our patron and for your inspiration and words. It's always great to have you here. I particularly want to thank St Lawrence's College. Ian, you and your staff have done a fantastic job, and the students, and we're really, really grateful. Last time I was on this stage wasn't for St Lawrence's. I was the speaker at the Brigidine College Awards night late last year, and the lights were still as bright then too. but it was another evening where I was exposed to the students and the pride in their education and the support they got. And I know from everything Narelle tells me, you've gone above and beyond to make this happen for us and for all the schools and all the students here. So thank you very much. So when I walked in today, and I think the great inspiration is this young man to my right, who is just an absolute role model. I came through the back door because I was running a bit late, and I saw Martin on the stage. 3 weeks ago, I was walking around the university and I heard this very sheepish voice saying, "Hello, Professor Shannon." And I turned around and here's Martin on day one in amongst 42,000 students. And I thought, this isn't St Lawrence's, this is a whole new world. I've been there myself. And I know when I walked in today, he had a certain level of comfort being back in his old school, back in that really supportive environment. And I think, you know, if there's a message for all of you, you may not realise that till you finish school, but savour it while you can, because the environments you're in and the support you're getting is extraordinary. I'm just going to pick up on a couple of things the Minister said, and I also want to flag Minister Pitt has been a very, very strong supporter of QATSIF since he was last in Parliament when he was Minister, and whilst he was in opposition, he also came to a number of our functions. And so I also want to extend my thanks to Tanya Smith as an opposition member who's here, who came to our functions while in Parliament, but is also supporting us. And that's a great showing of the support we've got on both sides of Parliament. So thank you, Tanya. A couple of the things the Minister said, he talked about the importance of partnerships, and recently the QATSIF Board of Advice met with key representatives from the state, independent and Catholic sectors, because as you've heard many times today already, the number of scholarships is just growing and growing, with over 1,200 awarded last year. And we can't continue to grow at that rate and still fund scholarships if the pie's not getting any bigger. And we certainly have had some discussions with the sector about how we continue to meet demand. We're also very keen to embark on our own fundraising strategy, because we know how important these scholarships are to families and schools. The Minister always said how important education is, and I can only reinforce that. As I've said many times at these events, I was lucky enough to go to Leward Hill College and get a good education and go on and get a good education at university. I have 3 sons who I'm very proud of, who one's a doctor, one's a lawyer and one's an economist. I won't finish medicine this year, so I've also valued for them education. But he also said, you've got to work really hard and dream big. And I think that message is really important, because when QATSIF started, the thing that drove us was closing the gap between year 10 and year 12. A lot of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students were finishing in year 10 and not completing year 12. We've had a profound impact on that year 12 gap, there's no doubt about that. But what we haven't been able to have a huge impact on is the number of year 12s finishing school with an OP and going on to university studies. So again, a great role model up here on the stage. But that's our next big goal, to start working with students and schools to build aspiration, to build the hope of going to university and further study. And I've just been this morning to an event that some of you would have loved. It was at the Brisbane Broncos, and Sam Thaiday launched it. I'm sure you all know who he is. But it was the Deadly Choices program pathway with partnership, with the Brisbane Broncos, and we're about to enter into a relationship there where we add education as a deadly choice, and I'm hoping that we build a lot of aspiration towards continuing that educational journey. So before I finish, I also want to thank a couple of other people. Acknowledge and thank the families and the schools, because the support you give to the students is extraordinary, and I know the Minister made that point as well. I want to acknowledge the Public Trustee and the work they do for us, and thank you for your ongoing support. To my fellow Board of Advice members who are here today, thank you for your support. We're a small board, but we get through the work. And I, of course, want to thank Narelle Mullins, who just works tirelessly, and Nadine in the Secretariat and Billy. They do an extraordinary job. I've said this many times. We don't have a big budget. We don't want to spend our budget on anything but scholarships where possible, and it is getting more and more difficult for them to run this office on the budget we do. So I acknowledge that and thank you, Narelle and the team. So good luck this year. Good luck with your studies. To our new scholarship holders, welcome, and we really look forward to seeing more of you. Thank you.
One of the Round 5 QATSIF scholarship recipients, Crystal Cathro, undertook a school-based apprenticeship in 2014. Thanks to CNK Kindy, we are able to share with you how valuable this experience has been for Crystal, and hope that it will encourage you all to take up every opportunity possible to gain valuable work experience.
I'm Crystal Cathro. I go to Ipswich State High and I'm in grade 11. I'm Indigenous. I come from the Waka Waka tribe. I'm from a family of 4. I'm doing a traineeship in a Cert 3 in early childhood, and I do it at the CNK at Embley. It started when I was younger. I've always wanted to work with children, and then once I got to high school I enrolled in the Cert 2 in early childhood, and they thought it'd be good for me to go from a Cert 2 to a traineeship in a Cert 3.
Crystal started working with the toddlers room and she stayed there for 6 months. Then she was given the choice to change age groups to get more experience, and she now works in the kindy room, and she'll stay in the kindy room until Christmas, and then again we'll reassess that. Crystal has gone from a quiet trainee who is now blooming in the kindergarten room, sharing all her knowledge and experience and doing lots of activities with the children and bonding with them. CNK gets the knowledge of knowing that we've trained these students to a high standard of care, and knowing that if they choose to follow the pathway to employment, the children will be greatly educated.
Since starting my traineeship, I feel as if that I'm more out there, not as shy. I'm more confident with myself. By the end of this, I will get my Certificate 3. It will benefit me by being able to go out and work with children and being able to do something that I'm very passionate about.
So thank you, Crystal, for sharing your story, and all the best to you for Year 12 in 2015. We now take a moment to acknowledge the QATSIF schools represented here today. So as your school is called by name, we ask you to quietly stand so that we can acknowledge you with pride.
Now this is a feat in itself, because we had the list changed this morning, and then it changed right at the start of the event. So we do apologise if your school is not here. We did our best going on the RSVPs to get all schools on our screen here today, and we did get some at the very last minute. But we do want to acknowledge the work that your teachers do, the support that your parents give you, and we want to acknowledge you, the QATSIF recipients. As we said, we ask you just to stand, and we know that some of the Year 12s who are on these scholarships were not able to make it because of exams. So we may, in some cases, just have one person who might be the teacher here today, but we thank you for coming. Alexandra Hills State High School. Perhaps if we hold our applause till the end, because there are 47 schools. Aspley State High School. Balmoral State High School. Beenleigh State High School, Brackenridge State High School, Bremer State High School, Brigidine College, Brisbane Bayside State College, Browns Plains State High School, Bundamba State Secondary College, Capalaba State College, Carmel College, Cavendish Road State High School, Cleveland District State High School, Chancellor State College, I got that one out of order, sorry. That's from the Sunshine Coast. Corinda State High School, Deception Bay State High School, Faith Lutheran College, Ferny Grove State High School, Forest Lake State High School, Glenala State High School, Emmanuel Lutheran College, Indooroopilly State High School, Iona College, Lindrum, Ipswich State High School, Kedron State High School, Kingston State College, Loretto College, Coorparoo, Leeward Hill College, Marist College, Ashgrove, Mary MacKillop College, Moreton Bay College, Mount Alvernia College. They may be an apology. They've had some tragedy at the school today, so we think of them. Palm Beach Currumbin State High School, who were our dancers. Redbank Plains State High School. San Sisto College. St Columban's College. St Francis College, Crestmead. St John Fisher College, Brackenridge. St Lawrence's College. St Paul's School, Bald Hills. St Patrick's College, Shorncliffe. St Peter Claver College, Riverview. St Rita's College. St Thomas More College, Sunnybank. Sunnybank State High School, Wavell State High School, Woodridge State High School, All Hallows School, Redcliffe State High School, Sandgate District State High School. That's like calling the roll, and you're almost all here. Congratulations and thank you. And I don't get to say anything else, but I do want to say a special thank you to all those people who've been thanked. Personally to Cindy Shannon and the public trustee, to Martin, who is just outstanding, to all of you who have contributed to this wonderful college who've just gone out of your way to make sure that we were still on 2 feet today, but especially to you, the students who make us proud, and your schools who just phone us all the time, and we are delighted to serve you. But I do want to say a very special thank you to an extraordinary team of Nadine and Billy with great gratitude. Thank you very much.
Many of the scholarship recipients are in rural or remote Queensland, and hence the numbers present today are only the Brisbane-based recipients. So our ceremony today is being filmed by the Film and Television crew from St Lawrence's College and should shortly appear on our QATSIF website for the whole of Queensland to share. So it says here, I'll do it then. Please now give yourselves again the 191 Round 6 QATSIF schools, your families and other QATSIF scholarship recipients throughout the whole of Queensland another big round of applause.